The first sound I heard was the deep, steady hum of the ship waking up. The air smelled like salt, sunscreen, and coffee drifting from a cafe by the pier. I stood in line with the crowd, staring up at the white walls of the cruise ship gleaming under the sun. It looked perfect, like a moving palace. Crew members smiled wide, waving like friends who already knew your name. Everything about it felt rehearsed. The more they tried to make it feel natural, the more I felt that strange pull in my stomach telling me this trip was not what it seemed. Families rushed past with rolling bags that clicked against the floor. A child dropped his ice cream. A worker cleaned it up before it even melted. Efficiency everywhere. I smelled fried food and ocean spray mixing in the warm wind. I told myself to relax, that maybe I was being paranoid. But I kept noticing little details. The cameras above the boarding ramp, the way the workers scanned each pass with slow care. I wasn't just checking in. I was being logged, measured, entered into a system. Inside, cold air hit me, sharp like walking into a freezer. The lights were bright, almost too white. My card was handed to me with a plastic smile. "Welcome aboard," the worker said. Her tone was kind, but her eyes moved to the next passenger before I even thanked her. I looked down at the card, my name, my room number, and a small silver chip on the back. It looked harmless, but something about it made me feel tagged. When I stepped onto the gangway, the floor shook under my shoes. The ship's heartbeat thrummed beneath my feet. I passed the photographers lined up like guards, each one calling out, "Just one photo!" Their cameras flashed in rhythm with the ship's pulse. I smiled for one, knowing it was bait. They would charge me later for that fake moment of joy. Then as the sun hit my face and the sea breeze wrapped around me, I looked back at the pier. It already felt far away, shrinking into the blur of blue water and sky. The land was safety. The ship was a secret waiting to unfold. Everyone else cheered when the horn sounded, raising their glasses to the promise of paradise. I didn't cheer. I gripped my card tighter. This wasn't just a vacation. This was a game, and I planned to learn the rules before they played me. The first day on board was built to distract. Music poured from hidden speakers, echoing off the metal railings. The buffet stretched forever, the smell of pizza, butter, and sugar mixing into a haze that made your stomach growl even if you weren't hungry. Everywhere you looked, someone was smiling. "Unlimited fun," the banner said. But nothing about it was unlimited. Not really. I started noticing the little traps right away. The drink package stand was placed just past the elevators, where thirsty travelers came straight from the heat. "Save money," the sign said. A man in a blue polo shirt waved me over with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. He spoke fast, pointing at numbers that sounded good only until you did the math. $70 a day, 10 cocktails just to break even. I smiled and nodded, pretending to think about it, then walked away. His grin faded as I left. That told me enough. By lunchtime, the crowd had swarmed the buffet. Plates clattered, voices overlapped. The air smelled heavy, thick with fried oil and warm bread. I skipped the chaos and found a smaller dining room near the back. It was nearly empty, quiet, with white tablecloths and sunlight spilling through tall windows. The food tasted fresh, and the waiter actually remembered my name. While I ate, I listened to the soft clink of dishes and thought about the hidden pattern of this ship, how they pushed you toward the loud, crowded spaces so you wouldn't notice what was calm and free somewhere else. Later, I explored the decks. The hallways twisted like a maze, each one looking the same. Doors lined both sides, cabin numbers glinting under soft yellow light. Every few feet, a camera watched silently. I felt the air change when I passed one of the crew-only doors. It smelled of detergent and metal, and faint music played behind it. Somewhere back there, hundreds of unseen workers moved in narrow tunnels, the real heartbeat of the ship. At sunset, the sky turned orange and gold. The ocean looked endless, calm but deep enough to swallow every secret below. I leaned on the railing, feeling the steady vibration under my palms. This ship was more than luxury. It was a machine built to make you forget how it worked. I could almost hear it whisper, "Relax, spend, don't ask questions." But I had questions, and I wasn't leaving without answers. By the third day, patterns started showing. The same songs played near the bars at the same hours. The same salespeople appeared by the shops with one-day-only deals that returned every day. People were starting to act different too. Slower, quieter, like the rhythm of the ship had lulled them into comfort. I saw couples asleep on deck chairs before noon, sunglasses hiding half-open eyes. The cruise wasn't just about selling, it was about control. I started testing things. When I skipped the buffet rush and came an hour later, the staff looked surprised. When I used cash tips instead of prepaid ones, service improved overnight. My steward began folding towel animals I'd never seen before. A bartender remembered my drink without asking. It proved what I suspected. Once they know you're paying attention, the rules shift. But the deeper I looked, the stranger things felt. My key card worked even in areas marked crew access only once, for just a second, before the light turned red. Later that night, I found an unmarked door near the theater, half open, leading to a small observation room filled with screens. Hundreds of tiny camera feeds showing hallways, pools, even dining areas. I stepped back fast, heart pounding. The door clicked shut behind me before I could tell if someone was inside. That night, lying in bed, the ship creaked softly like an old house. I could hear distant footsteps and the faint rolling of carts in the hall. The ceiling lights dimmed automatically at midnight, casting everything in silver blue. I thought about the tiny chip in my card, the scanners at every doorway, the way the crew already knew where I was going before I did. They weren't guessing. They were tracking. I held the card up to the light and saw the chip glimmer. It didn't look dangerous, but neither did the ocean when it was calm. And somewhere beneath that calm, something was always moving. On the final morning, the ship felt different, quieter. The passengers dragged bags down long halls, their laughter softer now. I stayed behind, watching from the balcony as sunlight poured over the deck. The same workers still smiled, but their eyes looked tired. It hit me then. The real trick wasn't just the upsells or the hidden fees. It was how the cruise made you forget you were being managed the whole time. I walked to guest services and asked for a printout of my account. The clerk hesitated before sliding over a list longer than I expected. Tiny charges I hadn't made, complimentary photos that weren't free, service fees added without warning. She smiled when I pointed them out. "System standard," she said softly. "It's all automatic." Automatic. That word stuck. I thanked her, took the paper, and stepped outside. The air smelled like fuel and sea spray. People lined up to leave, eager to rush home and tell stories of paradise. I waited until the last group stepped off, until the decks were almost empty. The quiet was thick, peaceful. As I walked down the gangway, I looked back once more at the giant white ship. Its walls gleamed in the sun, hiding every secret behind polished glass. I thought about the people boarding after me, smiling, ready to be amazed. I wanted to warn them, but maybe learning the truth is part of the journey. The ocean wind brushed against my face. The card in my pocket felt lighter now. I knew the tricks, the patterns, the quiet ways they watched. But I also knew something more powerful. Once you see how the game works, it can't control you anymore. The ship's horn sounded one last time, echoing across the water. The city behind me shimmered in the heat, and the sea stretched open, wide and endless. For the first time all week, I felt free.